Hi, I'm Carlton, and this is The Serving Effect, where we spotlight everyday heroes who are transforming lives and building a stronger, more connected community. We're going to bring you stories of individuals and organizations who are coming together, loving on people, lifting them up, and encouraging, and showing the power of when we all come together to serve each other. So, whether you're actively serving now, or you need some encouragement to serve, or maybe you just need one practical idea to get you started today, you're in the right place. Today we have Jonathan Breeden, Breeden Law, a longtime friend is coming. He's got a podcast. He's done all kinds of things. He is really in the Johnston County community, highlighting people who are really making Johnston County a great place to be. So welcome, Jonathan.
Thanks for having me. You were on my podcast, so I am looking forward to being on your podcast.
Yes. Well, tell us a little about Jonathan. You know, most people have if you have a position, you know, they look at you as a lawyer and not a person. You know, it happens in the nonprofit world. You're a figurehead for an organization. You're not a person. So introduce us to the Jonathan, the person.
Oh, the person. So anyway, my name is Jonathan Breeden. I am the owner and founder of the Breeden Law Office. We are a family law firm based here at 4036/4036/40/Veterans
Parkway.
right there behind the food line and across from Truist Bank. And we have been here. I've been practicing law here at this intersection in Johnston and then also in Harnett and Wake counties since October of 2000. There's a team of there's like 22 of us now. We have 8 attorneys and a lot of support staff, and we have satellite offices in Anger and Smithfield and Raleigh, but our main office is right here in Johnston County. It's always going to be 4042 to me. I don't care what they call the name, how they change the name. But Jonathan, we do all types of family law, divorce, custody, adoption, guardianship, simple wills. But Jonathan, the person, is a kid who grew up in Laurinburg, North Carolina, right on the North Carolina-South Carolina line, about 90 miles south of where we sit right now, not too far from Lumberton and not too far from Rockingham, not too far from Fayetteville, sort of between, 30 miles south of Fayetteville, 30 miles west of Lumberton, 30 miles east of Rockingham. And that's where I grew up, small town of 20,000 people, 21,000 people. The county, I think, had 29,000 people, and I was the son of a CPA and an emergency room nurse, and fairly normal childhood growing up in small town North Carolina in the 80s, and really enjoyed that. But the service part of it, I think a lot of it was instilled in me by my parents. You know what I mean? My parents were extremely involved in the community. We're always trying to help. My mom was in the Junior Service League when I was younger. Of course, she was a nurse working at the hospital. She did some home health on the side as well. And my father was a CPA there in town and has been in the Optimus Club in Laurinburg, I think now for 40 years,
Wow.
More than that, I think. I mean, we moved there in 1980. He joined the Optimus Club fairly soon after he got there, and he's still a member, and he still goes to the meetings today. So that's 45 years. And for people that are not familiar with Optimus International is motto, I think, is friend of youth. And so they do a lot of youth type sports, rec sports, which were really all there was back in the 80s and 90s. Now we have the whole travel world, and that's a whole nother thing. But he spent a lot of his time in the Optimus Club. He's been a president of it, helping build their ball fields, and he umpired, because they couldn't afford to pay umpires. He umpired the rec league games, and running fish fries and selling Christmas trees to raise money so that they could support these kids, so that they could play ball and stuff like that. And, and if you stay there long enough in Laurinburg, they've had several major leaguers come through Optimus Youth Baseball there in Laurinburg, and including Brett Butler, who now lives in Wilson, and Jonathan Jackson. So, and a couple more. I think there was a kid who played there a couple of years who ended up moving to Wilmington. I think his name was Wright. So, you never know who might come through there when they're growing up, playing ball there, become major leaguers. And so I think I saw a lot of that, the serving thing through them, and seeing them involved in the community and helping out. My first job was I think I made $6 a game, raking the fields, putting out the bases, running the scoreboards, and announcing the batters at the Little League Park for 10-year-olds. Now batting, Carlton McDaniel. And putting up the American flag.
Right.
I mean, somebody had to do it, right?
Right.
I mean, $6 a game. I thought I was rich. I mean, in the league, the season only lasted like 8 or 9 weeks, but I was happy as a lawyer. I was 14 years old. You know what I mean? So anyway, it was and so I think you do learn that. I think you learn it from your parents, right? I mean, if you see your parents involved in community service, I think it becomes a natural thing that's kind of what you do. And I've tried to instill that in my kids as well. I mean, we were just out volunteering at the Corn Ferry Tour golf tournament in Raleigh this weekend. My son carried the sign with the players' names and scores on it, and I walked around and put their scores in on a Samsung phone, so
Right.
that the people at home watching could follow and know what the score was and run the scoreboards and that kind of stuff. So it's a ton of fun. You know what I mean? We love golf, get to be around the greatest golfers in the world. They hit shots that I can only imagine hitting. But, my job's not to hit golf balls, right? My job's to get people divorced. So we're trying to do that. I've had my, through the church youth group, my daughter has volunteered at varying, we've got a lot of great organizations here, with Love from Jesus in Clayton, a great group with their, where you can go and get clothing and stuff like that in Clayton, right there next to Clayton High School. So, I'm trying to get them involved as well, because I think what got me started was watching what my parents did.
Right.
And as a result, I just kept doing it because that's just what you do.
Right. A lifestyle. It's more of a lifestyle
Correct.
than is doing a service act, and this is an act, is a lifestyle. And I think there's been a common thread with people who have come on this podcast and said, I saw my dad do this and I saw my mom do that. And as that was kind of intertwined with life, it wasn't how do I fit this in my schedule? It's part of your life. I mean, you make the time. We can all prioritize our time. And I think sometimes it's getting started. What am I going to do? So I know watching your podcast, you made the comment, which I really like, and it came full circle when you said, I was enjoying the ball field. I was enjoying what people were investing, their volunteer time, their serving, and now I see that and I want to do the same thing. I want to be that person that's doing the same thing. I benefited from it, now I want others to benefit from it. And that's a beautiful picture of serving.
Right, and you're right. I grew up, I played Optimus baseball, wasn't very good, but, I played it, and, the team, small businesses in Laurinburg had to sponsor those teams. And, it's funny. I remember the names of the teams I played on all these years later. And a lot of those businesses are still in business in Laurinburg. They're now being run by the son or the grandson, or they've been sold. But I remember playing for Haney's Tire and Herman's Tire and Poteet Insurance. And because back then the sponsor was the name of the team. That's not really what they do here in the Raleigh Triangle area now. Now they're the Cubs, and you might not know who the sponsor is per se, but those businesses made it possible for me to play. And having a dad who was the president of the Optimus Club, who had to go out and raise this money every year for these players and bats. And, back then we provided bats and helmets, and, now they sort of expect you to bring your own bat and to bring your own helmet. But back then, we had to provide all those things, and catcher's equipment and shin guards, and we didn't have Dick's Sporting Goods, and and parents didn't have the money to go buy that stuff. So not only were we having to pay for the lights and stuff. We had to provide the equipment for these players to be able to play. Get a bag of equipment. Coach, bring the bag, and then
Right.
coach turn the bag back in. So, that kind of stuff. So I remember that, and I was like, well, somebody did it for me. I should do it for somebody else, right? Sort of, you just keep this sort of cycle of life, like because if I'm not doing, and I'm very aware that being here at 40, 42, 40, 36, whatever you want to call it, we're not a city. We're not a town. We're a boom intersection in Johnston County. Yes, we have businesses, but our Chamber of Commerce went under, right? We don't have a complete Cleveland sense of identity to where there is a business base that these schools and ball clubs can go to and raise $40, $50, $75,000 with 4 or 5 calls, right? They've got to put it together with lots of people giving $1,000, $1,500, $2,000 because we don't have. This is a lot of tourism. It's a lot of fast food, right? We don't have the Novo Nordisk is not at 4042. Okay, Griffles is not at 4042. Right. You know what I'm saying? We don't have a single large employer at 4042 that's invested in the 4042 Cleveland school community, right? And so the small businesses that are here, I believe this, have a little bit of a duty to try to support the kids in this community so that they can do these sports and play in the band and all of that kind of stuff. And I'm just one small part of that, but I do think it's important.
Yeah. One of the things I remember, this was our first location, and you could say you're Garner, but you're not really. You're Clayton, but you're not really. You're Fuquay, but you're not really. I mean, it really was it always has tried to establish identity, but has been very difficult, and now especially with all the changes in DOT, changing names of roads and things. One of the things that caught my attention to, watching you being interviewed, was that the reason that you came into family law, and what I love is that you wrapped it up in the love for the children, understanding that children need to be successful in things. And I think that's a service. I mean, you can talk about a legal aspect, and you're you're carrying through people through a difficult time. But when you said, you either know somebody, you are in that situation, or know somebody, I never had thought about the emotional support where you really are thinking about the people. For me, it's a transaction. I need your help with this. You just help me with that, and then you go on your way. But if you think about a family and saying the parents love their kids and the kids love their parents, I mean, that was new insight for me in the world of being a lawyer, seeing that part. The one thing too is what led you to a podcast. I mean, how did that all of a sudden? I mean, I was on it and very comfortable, enjoyed being on your podcast, and so thankful you're on ours. But where did it come from, a podcast?
I have a business coach, and he had people come and speak about the power of podcasting and as a way to promote your business. And the name of my podcast is Best of Johnston County. But I didn't want to do a podcast just about family law and divorce, right? I thought, well, if I'm going to do this, I've always been the de facto mayor of Cleveland. I've been called that for 25 years. I was very honored a few years ago to receive the Man of the Year award from the Cleveland Chamber of Commerce, which I really do appreciate, recognition for what I'd done in this community back then.
Right.
But I thought, what a way to put out the positive side of Johnston County. At the time that I decided to start the podcast, we had an indicted county commissioner and an indicted school board member. Both of those people, as we sit here today, are in prison. And the media was pounding us because of these two people, and the fact that they were elected officials in Johnston County and that neither one would resign, even though they were under indictment. Ultimately, they both go to trial. They're ultimately both convicted. They're ultimately both in prison. And it was just making us look terrible.
Okay.
And I thought, there's a lot of positive here. And, the media doesn't always look at the positive. I thought, what can I do to put out the positive part of Johnston County, the great people that are here, and to educate the public about the services that are here so they don't have to go to Raleigh and that there are small businesses here that can provide as good or better service than any service you would get in Raleigh, and you don't have to drive there. I know 77% of people leave Johnston County to go to work in Raleigh every day, but I wanted to promote the businesses and the community groups in this area that people could get involved in, because this is a bedroom community. I understand that. It's going to be a bedroom community probably for a long time, but I did want people to understand about where they live. It's never lost on me that back before Waze and Apple Maps, that the Monday after jury notices went out, the phones in the clerk's office lit up like a Christmas tree. And the problem was everybody was calling because they got their jury notice and they were like, where is the courthouse? They had no idea. They'd not been to Smithfield. They didn't know where Smithfield was. They might have known where the outlets were, but literally they didn't know where their courthouse was, and they lived in Johnston County. And that has never dawned. Now maps and Apple, like, it's different ways, but that wasn't that long ago.
Right.
And I was like, that just stuck in my mind. Like, what can we do to promote the goodness of Johnston County and the great people that are here and the great organizations? So I thought, well, I'm going to start a podcast. I'm going to call it Best of Johnston County. And that's what I've tried to do for the last 18, 19 months now. And it's been a ton of fun. I've met so many great people. I've learned so much about the community that I did not know. It's allowed me to connect people to other people that I did not know. And, the business coach and some of them will be like, well, you're not monetizing it. And I'm like, I don't care. Like,
Right.
I'm having so much fun promoting the community and doing something positive that I don't need to monetize it. I'm just doing it for the fun of it, and I love it. I absolutely love it. I enjoyed having you on, and just telling people stories and having people tell their own stories, right? Everybody's got a story, right? Everybody wants to be the hero of their life story. Everybody is the hero of their life story.
Right.
So they should tell it. And I think people find it interesting, fascinating. I am stunned at how many people listen to my podcast, but I'm grateful for all of them.
Yeah. We talk a lot about the joy of serving. So I think sometimes people see it as an activity. I'm not going to enjoy it. I'm going to do it, but this is what I should do to just make myself feel better. And that's really not what it is. In the connecting with people as you're volunteering somewhere, there's friendships. I know at Able to Serve, there are friendships that are formed that outlast their day with Able to Serve. It's other places. That's a big thing. And I love the idea of highlighting Johnston County in a positive light with all that was going on, looking at that kind of need, loving people enough to say, this is not all of us. We can't be put in that box. I think Johnston County struggled too with, it was so rural in the pockets of where the cities were, whereas Garner is just right below Raleigh. It's almost like you just walk into Raleigh coming from Garner. And so Wake County was more suburban, more business and all that. And you had all this rural farmland and things. And all I would hear about Johnston County is it's exploding. Nobody would say anything about the positive. It's exploding. There's a lot of people moving there. Well, the taxes are lower. All these logistic type things, and they're just good people here. I mean, that's what we want. We want to find the good people, and we want to uphold them, let them be recognized, and say, not only do I want to be a hero of my own story, I want to be a part of something bigger than myself. That's
Correct.
A big part to me.
That's it. And you can be in a community or you can be of a community, and everybody gets to make that decision. You know what I mean?
I love that quote.
No, that's it.
I had that written down on the notes, so remember that quote that you said.
Oh, right. You can be, right? I mean, and I choose to be in it.
The easy, hard question. I'm not a Jonathan. I haven't done all these incredible things and connecting Johnston County and all the things that went on with schools and adding, making my community better. Something that you would take away if I was sitting out there, that's like one thing that says, I want to get involved, but I'm not really sure from Jonathan's perspective, what's one way to just get involved? It's something.
Well, every school has a PTA.
Okay.
Or PTA, parent-teacher organization, parent-teacher association. Every school has one. They're all in dire need of help. So if you have a child in school, go volunteer with the PTA. It's easy. It's your child's school. Help them fundraise, proctor test, stuff like that.
Okay.
That's easy to do. If you go to church, your church should have some sort of mission and outreach committee. Reach out to them. If you're not going to church, maybe find a church if you're religious. That's a thing you can do. We have a Rotary Club here at 4042. There are Rotary Clubs in Clayton. There's Rotary Clubs in Smithfield. There's the Civitan Club in Clayton that they do a ton. They're mainly about youth sports there with
Right.
that Civitan Club. I was in Crossroads Civitan out here at 4042. Unfortunately, it folded a few years ago. But there's Civitan, there's Rotary. There's Optimus and Garner.
Right.
There's Civitan and Garner. There's tons of these types of organizations that are there that would love to have you as a member, be willing to help you out. Some of the other ones that are out there that I've worked with, we talked about with Love from Jesus and Clayton. They do food and they do clothing. They've got several locations. They would love to have you come help sort clothes, give out clothes.
So there's
hang
not
clothes on rack. Like, you don't have to be a part. You just call them up and they'll give you a time and you can go there and help. There's Habitat for Humanity.
Right.
That's a great group. They're still building houses. There's a great group out of Clayton called Serve the Need. They build ramps at people's houses. They also do food drives. They also do a big Thanksgiving dinner for the community. They have a spaghetti supper, I think, or they do a steak thing. They do a steak lunch at Clayton Steakhouse. Serve the Need's a great group.
So the point would be, there's no way that you couldn't find somewhere to serve.
Absolutely
Whether
not.
your schedule, if
Right.
it's a weekend, if it's a night, if you're a carpenter and you want to do,
Right.
that really draws you in there.
Right.
Well, that brings us to the end of another episode of The Serving Effect. Thank you, Jonathan, for being here and letting us know all that you're doing, but also the passion for all that Johnston County is doing and uplifting people, encouraging people. Remember, we all have the ability to experience the joy of serving others. I want to take this opportunity to thank Smith Addressing and Machine Service for hosting the location where we do our podcast, The Serving Effect, and to our sponsors, the morning and the midday Rotary Clubs of Garner. We want to thank you for giving us this opportunity to share in this podcast of how people can get involved in their community and make a difference in the lives of others.